This next part is using dividing as a model, using a model for dividing. And this is specifically for the workbook practice. Now, it's important to understand how this works, but in practice, we are going to use a rule. So we are always going to use this multiply by reciprocal of the second fraction. But this dividing using a model is a good way to understand how divide works. And what we're going to do is we're going to essentially divide the numerator when we have divide. So here I have 3 over 4 divided by 2. So 3 over 4 divided by 2, well, we can't divide the 3 parts into 2. We can't divide it evenly. So what we can do is we can make it into equivalent fractions. So 3 quarters, I can make into 6 eighths. And that gives us 6 parts. And those 6 parts can now be divided by the divide by 2. So if I want to do 3 quarters divided by 2, I can convert it into 6 eighths. And then I can take half or divide by 2 the number of parts. And so I end up with 6 divided by 2. That leaves me with 3 parts. And the 8 parts are the whole. So when I have 3 quarters and I divide by 2, the answer is going to be 3 over 8. So this is what we are going to do in the workbook practice. Again, we don't use this necessarily when we're doing problems. So it's just one way to kind of show how divide works. Now, if we want to understand how this works in multiplying by reciprocal, well, we have our fraction. We have 3 over 4, okay, times 3, divide 4. And we know that divide ends up in the denominator. Well, this is really 2 divided by 1. And if I'm going to divide, I'm going to flip that fraction. So that becomes 1 on top. And then the 2 ends up on the bottom. And remember that all the divides are on the bottom, multiplies are on the top. So that divide by 2 is now where it belongs, in the denominator. And when we do that, we end up with top times top, bottom times bottom. And notice we get the exact same answer of 3 over 8. Okay, so this is a much easier way to do it. And so this is going to be our primary method. But this strategy of dividing the number of pieces in the numerator is going to be how we're going to do the practice in the workbook.